Oh God, I'd ask today that you would use these stumbling, stammering lips, that your name and the name of your Son Jesus might be proclaimed and lifted up. Amen. Picture this for just a moment, if you can. There are two women at the well. And each of these women has a bucket to withdraw water. One woman, looking at sad and bitter, remarks, "Life's terrible. Every time I fill this bucket up, it's empty within minutes." The other woman, who appears to be at peace with herself, replies, "I think life is great. Every time the bucket's empty, I get to fill it up again." Is the bucket always being empty or filled? It is the old question of, is the glass half empty or half full? Does it make a difference how you and I see the glass or the bucket? If you're thinking theologically, the answer is a definite yes. It makes a difference how you see the glass or the bucket. Clearly, for the people of God, the glass is half full, and the bucket is perpetually being filled. In today's text, Nehemiah emphasizes the efforts taken to ensure that people listening to the Scripture actually really understood the force and the spirit behind it. They had the Levites scattered among the people, offering interpretation and explanation as the Scripture was being read. Evidently, however, the people only capture half the message. They seem to readily grasp the reality of humanity's failures. When the worshipers compare their lives to the exacting standards ordered and esteemed by God, they are horrified at their complete inadequacy. They fall with their faces to the ground, weeping. As obedient, worshipful human beings, they are clearly half empty. The conflicting forces of daily life are always threatening to drain away ever more of their integrity and their faithfulness. And we, as Christians today, face that as well. The conflictive forces that pull at us and try to drain us of our integrity and our faithfulness. But this is only half the message. The interpretation can't stop here. You see Nehemiah and Ezra step in, overriding the Levites' topical translation and interpretation to direct the people's attention to the greater truth that stands behind God's law. The bigger picture is of a day made holy by the Lord's presence, of a people who are blessed to be able to freely worship God's presence on such a day. It is the very existence of this presence that must move the people beyond the experience of judgment and on to an open-mouthed, awe-stricken, exuberant sense of joy. And acknowledging this joy reveals the true picture of humanity, that we're not half empty but half full. While it's true that you and I are flawed and fractured, and may never be able to remain filled and satisfied satisfied for very long. We can nevertheless return again and again to the well of God's love and joy and draw from it all that we need to refill our strength of will and soundness of heart. While Nehemiah and Ezra proclaimed that the joy of the Lord is your strength, the New Testament promises an even more outstanding new reality. That Jesus came so that our joy may be full. In John 15, 10 and 11, Jesus announces, if you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. And I've said these things to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. And just a little further on in John chapter 16, Jesus says, I have said this to you so that in me you may have peace. In the world you have persecution, but take courage. I have conquered the world. That's not the way I learned. I learned it this way. Jesus says, in this world you will have tribulations, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. The persecution, Jesus reminds us of, comes in many forms. That it always seeks to puncture our leaky sense of self-esteem and to fragment our rickety faithfulness. This is why rejoicing in the Lord and proclaiming the glass half full and the bucket fillable takes more than a sense of well-being, folks. It takes gutsy joy to do that. Gutsy joy enables us to see the steady stream of God's love and fidelity flowing into our lives, even when we're in the midst of a spiritual drought. Gutsy joy keeps us striving after obedience when we realize we always fall short of God's intentions for us. Experiencing joy, feeling the laughter of a life well lived and well loved. Let that laughter of a loved life well up in your spirits and burst out of your mouth as a divine gift. Tears over our brokenness close us down as we dwell on the empty portions of our lives. Laughter opens us up, allowing us to lift our faces to the Lord from the surface of our half-filled selves, acknowledging our incompleteness and awaiting the pouring out of God's Spirit. It's hard to laugh sometimes, isn't it? It's hard to laugh sometimes. I don't feel very joyful right now. The joy of the Lord is my strength. And it's from that joy that even if I don't feel joyful, I still feel love. Gutsy joy. Gutsy joy. Joy that well up in us that we can share with others, even when things in this world aren't going the way we would hope that they go. So today, may the joy of the Lord be your strength. I pray that for you and for me. I pray that for the choir. And all of you sitting here this morning, may the joy of the Lord be our strength. Amen.